Hi, everyone. We're back with the continuing saga of Hannah from First Samuel, the book of First Samuel, chapter 1. And so far, we learned that Hannah was married to Elkanah, that he had another wife named Peninnah. She had lots of children, but Hannah had none. And every year they would go to the temple at Shiloh, and Elkanah would give some of the sacrificial meat to Peninnah and her children, but he would give a choice portion to Hannah because he loved her. And Hannah takes the taunting of Peninnah in stride, but it really hurts her. And at least according to the Bible doesn't tell us that she talks back to Peninnah or gives it right back to her or sticks up for herself or anything. It really just says that she was so upset that she couldn't eat. And one day after the meal, she gets up, she goes back into the temple, and she begins to pray. And she is praying for a child, that God would bless her with a child. I found a little note in my study Bible that I thought I would read to you because I think it's so important. And so it opened my eyes to a few things. It says, Hannah knew her husband loved her, but even his encouragement could not comfort her. She could not keep from hearing Peninnah's jeers and letting her hurtful words erode her self-confidence. Hannah had good reason to feel discouraged and bitter. She was unable to bear children. She shared her husband with a woman who ridiculed her. Her loving husband could not solve her problem. And even the high priest misunderstood her motives. Remember, he thought she was drunk? But instead of reacting with anger or giving up hope, Hannah prayed. She brought her problem honestly before God. I think that's interesting. Of course, we don't know all the details, but the Bible does not tell us that she got angry or ridiculed back at Peninnah or gave up on her husband or even talked back to the priest when she first went in to the temple. And let's look at that, at where that happens. This is in verse 12. As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her. Seeing her lips moving but hearing no sound, he thought she had been drinking. Must you come here drunk? He demanded. Throw away your wine. Now this is her answer. Oh, no, sir, she replied. I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I am a wicked woman, for I have been praying out of great anguish and sorrow. So she calls him sir. She treats him respectfully. She says, please don't think bad of me. Please don't think that I'm drinking. It's interesting. She has a very gentle way of approaching things, doesn't she? And some of that must come from her great faith, because what is she really doing? Praying, heartfelt praying for a son. And then, as you know, Eli blesses her. And even after he blesses her, he says, may the God of Israel grant the request you have asked him. Oh, thank you, sir, she explained. And then she went back and began to eat again and was no longer sad. She really believed, she had faith that this blessing and her prayer were going to yield an answer from the Lord. So let's continue on this story now. We're on verse 19. The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship the Lord once more. Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son, and she named him Samuel, for she said, I asked the Lord for him. So that's what Samuel obviously means, gift of God or The next year, now, the next year, let's think now. Samuel would be about a year old, right? Or maybe even less, because it would have been several months before she had the baby. The next year, Elkanah and his family went on their annual trip to offer a sacrifice to the Lord and keep his vow. But Hannah did not go. She told her husband, "Wait until the boy is weaned. Then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with the Lord permanently." "Whatever you think is best," Elkanah agreed. "Stay here for now, and may the Lord help you keep your promise." So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. I looked up how long, at this time in history, how long women nursed the children, and when would it be that he was weaned. And actually, they probably kept them and nursed them for quite a long time. So we might think of only nursing a child a year or two, maybe, and then weaning them. In that time period, they might have actually gone quite a bit longer than that. He could have been 3, 4, even 5 years old when he was weaned. Some sources even set up to 7 years, but I think that's stretching it a bit. let's say in our minds we're thinking 3 or 4 or 5 years, something like that. So Elkanah knows this is going to be difficult for Hannah, because look what he says to her. He says, "May the Lord help you keep your promise." The promise was that if she had a son, she would give him to the service of the Lord. It's got to be hard to keep that kind of promise, isn't it? As a mother, as waiting so long for this son, and now she's going to give him back to serve in the temple, to be a priest, and she won't be there really to raise him. So she keeps him up until the time he's weaned, and then she has to keep her promise. So he says, "Whatever you think is best, stay here for now, and may the Lord help you keep your promise." So she stayed home and nursed the boy till he was weaned. This is verse 24 now. We're still in chapter 1. When the child was weaned, Hannah took him to the tabernacle in Shiloh. They brought along a 3-year-old bull for the sacrifice and a basket of flour and some wine. After sacrificing the bull, they brought the boy to Eli. Now, Eli is still there in the temple. However many years has gone by, he's still there, and they're bringing the boy to him. "Sir, do you remember me?" Hannah asked. "I am the very woman who stood here several years ago praying to the Lord. I asked the Lord to give me this boy, and he has granted my request. Now I am giving him to the Lord, and he will belong to the Lord for his whole life." And they worshiped the Lord there. Whoa. I mean, I can't even, as a mom, I can't even imagine that. I really can't. You know, so often we promise things in desperation, and then when the time comes, we don't want to keep the promise. But not Hannah. She says, "Eli, do you remember me? I was here a few years ago. I'm the same woman you blessed. It's me." It's so great. So while they're there, they basically give Samuel to the care of Eli to serve in the temple and serve the Lord there. Very interesting. And what is Hannah's response to this? Does she cry and go away upset or anything? No. What she does is she goes and prays. She prays. That's what she's there for, to worship the Lord and thank the Lord for her blessing. So this is her prayer of praise. It's a beautiful prayer. And Hannah prayed. Now we start in chapter 2 of 1 Samuel. "My heart rejoices in the Lord. The Lord has made me strong. Now I have an answer from my enemies. I rejoice. because you rescued me. The Lord has made me strong. I never thought about this before. I've read this several times, this prayer. I never thought that perhaps she means strong enough to keep her promise. You know, there's a lot of things that we think we're not strong enough to do. But if we do them in God's power, we're suddenly strong enough to do it. I don't think she could have done this on her own. She had to have had the power of God with her to do this, to follow through on this promise that she made. So she's saying, my heart rejoices in the Lord. She's happy, even though she's just given up Samuel, because she knows God answered her prayer and God is there for her. My heart rejoices in the Lord. The Lord has made me strong. Now I have an answer for my enemies. Okay, and her answer to Peninnah is, I have a son. I gave him to the Lord. I rejoice because you rescued me. No one is holy like the Lord. There is no one beside you. There is no rock like our God. Have you ever heard that song? There is no rock. There is no rock like our God. Oh, I love that song. That's a great song. And it obviously comes right from this prayer of Hannah. There is no one besides you. There is no God. There is no rock like our God. That's what she's saying. Stop acting so proud and haughty. Don't speak with such arrogance, for the Lord is a God who knows what you have done, and He will judge your actions. She really knows the Lord, doesn't she? She understands Him. We can't be proud and haughty. God is so much more important than us. She's saying, don't speak with arrogance, for the Lord knows what you've done, and He's going to judge your actions. The bow of the mighty is now broken, and those who stumbled are now strong. Those who were well fed are now starving, and those who were starving are now full. The childless woman now has 7 children, and the woman with many children wastes away. The Lord gives both death and life. He brings some down to the grave, but raises others up. The Lord makes some poor and the others rich. He brings some down and lifts others up. He lifts the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump. He sets them among princes, placing them in seats of honor. For all the earth is the Lord's, and He has set the world in order. This whole prayer here, it isn't really saying that God, is nice to some people and not nice to others. That's not her point here. Her point is that when we see a situation, God can turn the tables. That things that look hopeless to us are full of hope. Things that look poor to us become rich in the Lord. Things that seem unimaginable become possible with the Lord. And that's what she's saying. Everything is upside down, Nothing that we thought in our human thinking and in our human eyes, nothing we thought was going to happen is now happening because God is in charge. This is verse 9. He will protect His faithful ones, but the wicked will disappear in darkness. No one will succeed by strength alone. She's saying you can't do it by yourself. No one will succeed by strength alone. I like that. Those who fight against the Lord will be shattered. He thunders against them from heaven. The Lord judges throughout the earth. He gives power to His king, to His king. He increases the strength of His anointed one. I think that was interesting because a lot of people believe that last part of her prayer is very prophetic for pointing to Jesus. Think about it. He gives power to His king. He increases the strength of His anointed one. So even as God was with Hannah in this situation, God will be with Jesus right to the end. The Father and Jesus are one. And the anointed one will have the power of the king. The anointed one being Jesus. Yeah. And in Hebrew, it really would be translated, He exalts the horn. and the horn would be the horn of salvation, Jesus. And again, it is God himself in Jesus that satisfies the penalty for death. And then he is exalted because he has broken the chains of death. And that's really what she's saying here. The Lord gives both death and life. He brings some down to the grave, but raises others up. There's a lot of prophecy, a lot of prophetic things going on in her prayer. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful prayer of praise and thanksgiving, which again, to me, is a little bit surprising because she's fervent in this worship. She's praising the Lord at a time when she has had to follow through on the promise she made and leave her son with Eli. She'll probably only see him maybe once a year when she goes to Shiloh, right? For the temple. I mean, I don't think she's going to see him or participate in raising him. But obviously she's given him a good start in life because he is going to become an amazing, amazing man of God. Now, at this time, of course, it's Eli who's going to kind of be in charge of Samuel. But don't forget, his two wicked sons are still there in the temple. And Hophni and Phinehas are their names. And I don't know why this little part is in here, but right in the middle of Hannah's story, the Bible stops and talks about these two wicked priests. So I don't know why, but we're going to follow along with that and see if it ties in then to the end of Hannah's story, which is also in chapter 2. So I hope you enjoyed Hannah's prayer of praise and the joy with which she followed through on her promise to the Lord is the thing that really intrigues me about Hannah. And I think it shows her faith in God and her understanding of the power of prayer and her fervency in worship. And I think it reveals a little about her character too, the fact that she did not, at least the Bible doesn't record any times of her yelling back at Peninnah or getting angry with her husband or talking back to Eli when he thought she was drunk. She treats people respectfully, and she's a woman of great character, really. Somebody we could look up to and follow in so many ways. So, have a day of praise and thanksgiving and make it a good one. Bye-bye.